Thanks for tuning in to this live recording of an interview with Emily Binder of WealthVoice. We're going to talk about the power of voice marketing, how you can go and leverage the Amazon Echo products, and up your marketing game.
Hey, Jay. This is the Resilient Advisor Show with Jay Coulter.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Resilient Advisor. My name's Jay Coulter, and I'm interviewing Emily Binder today. She is with WealthVoice. We met at the Jolt conference several months ago. She is an expert at voice marketing. She has a really compelling story to tell about the power of voice and AI for financial advisors in their practice. Emily, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome, Jay. Happy to be here.
All right, let's set some context for this conversation. We're going to talk about marketing. We're going to talk about financial advisors leveraging voice in their practice. But let's set the stage with some background. How did you get into this?
I've always been into podcasting. I've had podcasts on and off for like 10 years, and I have a marketing background. I was doing consulting with my agency, Beetle Marketing, and about 3 or 4 years ago, I started launching, they're called, I'm going to mute my device here. I'll say Lexi so I don't set up anyone's device off. Lexi Skills, they're like apps on Alexa, right? Voice activated. You see the stats coming out. This is the fastest adopted consumer device of all time. I'm thinking, what's the marketing opportunity here? And getting in early is very compelling. So I was doing podcasts. I was doing Alexa Skills. Everything was custom manual. This was like 2018. And I thought maybe we could create an easy platform so that more people can share their voice, especially in this hands-free way, which is where everything was headed. And then WealthVoice was born during COVID after thinking about that for a couple of years.
Excellent. So I am new to all this. When we met, it was like I was taking a micro class on how to leverage and we're going to say Lexi instead of the word that begins with an A, the Lexi device, so that advisors can enter into this blue ocean. And I was fascinated because as a longtime podcaster, I never even considered that as an option for expanding your brand. I wish we'd just recorded that conversation. That could be the podcast. So can we start soup to nuts on the value proposition for financial advisors leveraging the Lexi tool?
Sure. So there's really two reasons you would want to do this. It's your hands-free homepage. And then also you get to do mini broadcasts, like voice briefings. Consider it like a voice tweet. The hands-free homepage is, if you look at stats on advisor websites, or really like most companies, any industry, the number one traffic page on an advisor's site or company site is the About Us or Our Team page. So people are spending a lot of time looking at that. They're not looking at white papers and stats, and they really want to know, who are you? What do you do? What's your background? I want to see your picture. I want to know if you have a dog. And what if we could bring that to life hands-free on the device that's on literally everyone's kitchen countertop? So that's the thing. It's bios. It's about the firm, the services, the products, and you get to control the graphics, and it's your voice. The warmth of your voice, that intimate connection is what builds trust. And everything I do has a brand motivation behind it. So brand it lives in the subconscious. It's all about emotion, connection, trust. It's in the same part of the brain as music and memory. So this whole sonic voice marketing thing really ties in so well with anything you're doing, trying to build relationships with clients or customers or an audience.
All right. Can we get into some of the data behind consumers that are leveraging these products here? What are the current stats? And I think, gosh, you and I spoke months ago, and I'm sure that they've gotten even better since then. It blew me away, the number of people using these products.
Right. So this is the interesting thing about the stats. When you say how many people are using a voice assistant, they're not just on smart speakers. So they're on your mobile device. A great deal of the voice activated interaction happens on mobile, especially on Android, because they're more abundant throughout the world. If you consider mobile devices as a voice assistant device, it's certainly 100% of people who have a smartphone, right? And over 30% of searches are done by voice. This could be Siri, it could be Lexi, it could be Google. There's some other players, but they're not really worth mentioning at this point. Smart speakers, though, that's the one where I think of it like the training wheels of voice. So you have to have a device to help people understand a new technology, something they can touch and feel and understand. And those devices, it's like about 40% of the population here in the US has one. I think the numbers are higher. And the reason it's not exact is that Amazon, interestingly enough, doesn't actually release the data on how many people have them and have activated them. But we have other ways of figuring out who's using it based on information from the factories of how many are going out. So I say it's about 50%. Let's say conservatively, it's 35 or 40%. That's how many people have the smart speakers. You also have Fire TV, you have Alexa in the car, you have it literally on Amazon shopping app on iPhone, Android. So it's everywhere. And that is huge because with the device adoption, you have content, you have ad dollars. That always follows whatever hardware is adopted.
All right. So as I did my research for this interview, I noticed that you have some clients that are friends of the show, friends of Financial Advisor TV, and I'd love to hear your take on their experience leveraging these platforms. In particular, the folks over at Asset Map and Snappy Kraken, who I know are big components of it. How are they leveraging it in their business?
They're doing such a good job. I love Adam. I love Robert. I love everyone on those teams. Actually, if you want to check out right now, if you're listening on Instagram or wherever, just go to Instagram and search WealthVoice AI. And we have little demo videos. Adam's featured. We have Snappy Kraken featured in our latest story. You can see actually what it sounds like and looks like and how you access it. So basically you would say, actually, look at this. I didn't even plan this. This is so cool. So this is the asset map. This is like the physical marketing material, right? So it says Lexi Open Asset Map. You scan that QR code and then you strengthen your client relationships. It launches their skill. The skill is an app, right? And then it's, hey, it's Adam Holt. And they've got their Sonic branding in there and you could see the headshots and see the logo and the cool graphics. And it's this really warm way to get a feel for a brand, whether you're in that research top of the funnel phase, or maybe you're already a client and you want to just get the latest update, which they can drop like a voice memo whenever. It doesn't have to be on a set schedule like a traditional podcast, which is why there's such a low barrier to entry to do this and still reap the benefits of doing a podcast.
Low barrier to entry for somebody who's not tech savvy, I think it might be a little bit of a misnomer. That's what your company helps solve. So why don't we walk through what it's like for a financial advisor, which is what makes up most of this audience, what their experience is like when they start leveraging your platform and then taking it to market.
The whole point is to make it easy and painless. So we have a couple options. One of them's done for you, total white glove setup. But frankly, if you want to go into WealthVoice yourself, open an account, all you have to do is choose an invocation, which is 2 to 3 words. Think of it like your website URL. So financialadvisor.tv, that's your URL. That's the tap, type, and swipe era, right? Like Web 2. And we're not exactly Web 3, but think of that. And then what's the equivalent of a voice URL or homepage? It's your invocation phrase. So Lexi Open Asset Map, Lexi Open Snappy Kraken. And then you're getting the key information that you would have gotten on their website, but it's quicker, it's warmer, it's hands-free. You can get it in under a minute. So the way that somebody does this, you set up, you like drop a logo, choose your invocation, choose your color codes, drop some bios, whether it's featuring team members. Tell me about Adam, tell me about TJ, tell me what's new at Asset Map. And that one, they can change the audio and the graphics anytime. So it's like a dynamic content management system for a web page, but you're controlling the voice response of this one-shot phrase. Beyond that, if they wanted to do updates, like Adam and TJ do a great job. You can hear their updates. You can say, Lexi ask Asset Map for the latest update. And they'll say, we're doing a cool webinar. We just got this award. And here's the newest product that you can use and try this feature set or, register for this event, whatever they want to share. It's just easy. Like the whole thing is something that someone with no technology experience could go in and set up in under an hour.
And then let's say you're a financial advisor and you already have a podcast. What is the connection there to the skill and what are the marketing benefits? And if that isn't a softball question, I don't know what it is.
Oh, I love this one. Okay. So first one that comes to mind, Jamie Hopkins, Carson Coaching Framework Podcast with Anna. They just sync their RSS feed into WealthVoice. That's it. They set it and forget it. Like they haven't logged in and updated anything in a while, but the content's evergreen and it's grabbing their latest episode. And the thing that's valuable about it is with a traditional podcast, it's a very one-way street, right? It's passive information consumption, which is fine. Not everything has to be a conversation, but wouldn't it be valuable if you could say, tell me about the host, tell me about Carson, tell me more about this. So we give that extra interactive layer to a podcast. You just sync the RSS feed and then people can get a notification when there's a new update. That's the other key is nobody's going to just find this. Nobody's like, let me go ask my voice assistant what's new at Framework Podcast. There's a notification that lives in the same place as you've got a new package. Your return was accepted. So it's on screen and it's that little gentle ding. You can turn those off if you don't want them to.
One thing that stood out to me in our conversation at Jolt is the fact that this is a blue ocean. Not many advisors are in there, but what I'm learning on some of these other newer social media platforms, like I hate saying it, TikTok, there are not a lot of advisors. So the ones that are there are getting all the attention. And that's the same thing going on in the space. What have your advisor clients found their client reaction and their prospect nurturing is like when leveraging this tool?
We've had a lot of positive feedback on this. I was talking with Plancorp, Peter Lazaroff. They were one of our first customers a couple of years ago and really kind of blazing that trail. And they still do their updates from Chris. And Peter was telling me that it's been really well received by clients, especially clients who are like maybe on the fence. I don't know if I want to hire these guys. If you go to plancorp.com/ALEXA, you'll see how they're leveraging it. And this is anecdotal, but they said, yeah, we had some clients come in for a meeting the other day and they're like, yeah, we saw you had an Alexa skill and we checked it out. It was cool. I could kind of learn more about Peter and Chris and Sarah and hear the update and find out like what's the mission of the company. So that's at the beginning, we open with the about, like the blue star mission of the company in under a minute. Who are you? What do you do? Why are you for me? And you can say that with your voice. It comes alive. It's not just reading it on a web page.
And so then can an advisor go and create some type of weekly update so that their clients could say, hey, give me the ABC financial update of the week. And then whatever they have uploaded is then broadcast through all their speakers.
Yes, you can use it however often you want to. We have some customers who do it about once a week. Like I think Asset Map has a weekly cadence with it. And also a great example is Justin Castelli. So he just launched this really cool new brand called Life's Pursuit. You can look on Twitter. It's Life's PRST. Their wealth voice is called Life's Pursuit. And Justin's doing this. I think this is such a neat, creative way to do this. He's doing Soulful Sundays. So it's exclusive voice content only available on Sundays, only on Wealth Voice. He has his podcast sync, so people are getting the other content the rest of the time. But that kind of special, like you have to go here to get it. He's marketing that really well. And then you've got audiograms, which get 4x the engagement of other types of social posts. So those are a really good way to share clips of whatever your Wealth Voice broadcast is, give people the quick link to enable, like one tap from any device, boom. It's essentially like you're subscribed. It's like follow me on social media, join my email list, enable my Wealth Voice. It's just another marketing channel to stay in touch.
Yeah, Justin does a great job marketing. He's always done a really good job playing on the edge, looking at new tools, looking at new platforms. So it's no surprise that he's engaged with this tool to me. Now, you just brought up something that I did not have in my question set that I forgot from our conversation from Joel, and that are these audiograms and their effectiveness. I had suggested to you that I was under the impression, as somebody who produces a lot of clips out of shows for myself and for clients, that having the video was more important than just the audio. And you had not only data, but some compelling reasons why you want to use the audiogram. So when you look at audiograms today, tell me about their effectiveness and why you use them.
There is a very low commitment to watching or listening to an audiogram, especially because it could be on mute. And sure, video is great. Always put captions on the bottom, like we're talking social posts, right? Audiograms are usually under a minute long. And that means people feel kind of safe clicking on it. It's like, this isn't going to be a big investment. And you get a feel really quick of like, do I even want to listen to the rest of this 40-minute episode based on this clip? So we create audiogram templates. We give you social posts. Like I want everyone set up for success when they do this, especially if they're not really well versed in how do you market a podcast, because that's a whole other strategy. So the audiograms on our Instagram page, there's some good examples of those, but like Michael Baker with Vertex Capital, he's doing a really good job. He audiograms his Wealth Voice broadcast. It's like inflation or volatility or like what's going on. And then you can use that one shot phrase to hear the rest of it, it works in the Amazon shopping app. You don't need to have a smart speaker. So I think that's kind of a key component, which has only come out in maybe the last 6 or 8 months. And I was happy when that came out, of course.
Yeah, I'm sure. And you changed my thinking around audiograms and their effectiveness. I started paying attention to them more. And of course, as a marketer, paying attention to the stats and the types of results they're getting for folks that are posting them. And you've brought me full circle for sure. All right. So whenever I get a marketing expert on, I like to get their thoughts on different types of marketing strategies beyond their core competencies, just to see where your head is with different platforms. I'm going to get into the standard ones in a second, but you had posted something on Twitter recently about Spotify and their recent community engagement platform. Tell us, and I'm not familiar with it at all. What do people need to know?
So Spotify, if you were on it in the old days, like I was like 2011 when it first came out, it was only on desktop. And one of the coolest parts about it was you would follow your friends and you would see what are they listening to. That still exists in the desktop version of Spotify. It's not on the mobile version, which is where the majority of Spotify listening happens. So it had been for so many years missing that really key component of what are my friends listening to. And that's like the backbone of all streaming, whether you're thinking Netflix or there's a cool app called Good Pods, which is all about following what your friends and influencers are listening to from podcasts. Now you can see socially, okay, these are my friends, here's what they listen to, and you can click on it. But having that on mobile is just, it's a gimme. That it's social experiences are very musical when you think about them. So yeah, that's a new feature that they're rolling out. If you, my Twitter's at Emily Binder. It's like one of my most recent tweets if you want to click the article about it. So yeah.
Yeah, when I saw that tweet, I thought, man, we missed the boat on that because that's a layup feature for both Financial Advisor TV and the coaching business because it's all about community and micro communities, and that seems like a great tool. All right, so let's talk about the big marketing platforms that advisors focus on and get your thoughts on their effectiveness today and some of the best practices that you see as a marketing expert. Let's start with email marketing. Is it still an effective tool for financial advisors?
Absolutely. It's still very important. Uh, I am not an email expert. I have been in marketing for so long that I know things about it, but I'm not going to come on here and tell you what to do with your email. I think Snappy Kraken has done such a fantastic job at covering that and like informing you about what works. And yeah, but the key here is to just leverage all of these channels, whether it's social, email, YouTube, podcasting, Wealth Voice. And Matt Halloran and I were talking about this just the other day. He's like, create the content once and then chop it up and share it everywhere so that you're being efficient with it. And that I
Mhm,
think is the way to do it. So all these channels play together, right?
mhm.
They're all instruments in the orchestra.
Yeah, I find most advisors neglect email, unfortunately. And I agree with you. If you can just simply go watch a Snappy Kraken webinar and you'll see the statistics behind its effectiveness. Most advisors neglect email, especially if they have an established practice, unfortunately. What about your experience with advisors leveraging text messaging?
I don't have a lot of experience with anyone who's tried it. I know Convos from Snappy Kraken was one of the best parts of Jolt, and that was like their dry run, I think. But
Mhm.
do you remember being at Jolt and you'd get a message like, you know, what was it? Chicken and waffles is in 20 minutes. Mimosas are next. Make sure you're in this room. Here's how to get there with clear directions through the aria, which I was, thank you, because I get lost.
Yeah.
It was such a really engaging, helpful way to structure the conference. And it was all just drip like at 12:52, this one goes out. And that makes people show up to things more because
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I'm up in the room and this cool talk is, I better go down versus
Mhm.
looking at an agenda on a 4-inch screen and like, oh, what am I going to next? It's too much. So I think with the text messaging, interestingly enough, there's a lot of parallels between our broadcasts, which are like voice drops, and text messages because they're short and sweet and they're kind of in real time and a little bit casual too. Like the lack
Mhm.
of formality of all of it is appealing to people. It doesn't need to be this really buttoned up long email with no pictures, right? This is a
Yep.
little more engaging. So I'm a fan. I think the texting is great.
Yeah, I've seen in my community advisors that did not have the ability to use texting. Maybe they were stuck inside of a warehouse and then they got out, they found compliant friendly tools that they could use, are blown away at how much their older baby boomer clients are gravitating towards text messaging as the primary communication tool. So it's not just for marketing, but for client communications can be incredibly effective. And I have a feeling those audiograms might fit well in there as well. All right, so let's run through the social media platforms. I have a love hate with social media. So do most financial advisors. What are your thoughts on LinkedIn today?
It's very important. For me, if I were looking someone up professionally, it's probably the first place I would go, if not Twitter first and then LinkedIn. And, people complain that LinkedIn has gotten so spammy and salesy and noisy and cluttered, and people are like putting their birthday on their LinkedIn. I mean, that's not really what it's for, right? That's my opinion. But I get a lot of value out of it. And it's a little of a different vibe than Twitter. Uh, I use both of them. I think they're both really helpful, like, at least and I have two businesses and I've never spent a dollar on advertising, Jay. All of my business comes through social media and conferences. It's very much a word of mouth, slow roll over, what is it, 10 plus years doing these social posts. So definitely be there. and engage. There are lots of ways to grow and make the most of that platform. But if you take audiograms or podcasts or videos and share them on LinkedIn, you're going to get a lot more engagement, because where are people spending the most hours a day when it comes to social and screens? It's the top social networks like Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. I don't like talking about Facebook. I have nothing to do with them. I don't want to talk about it. It might be right for you depending on your audience. Like older people still use it. Not to be ageist. I'm just saying that is worse from a like pollution and spam and kind of watching a car wreck happen. So yeah, I would do LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, especially if you want to reach the next generation, right? Because you have to think, where is this going in 10 years? And the Wealth Voice thing, it's a hedge. Think of it that way, because you see technology evolves. Like, remember when smartphones came out and what is this? It's a computer in my back pocket. I'm not going to use this. I can't even see. It's too small. Everything's happening there now. So the devices evolve. Like I said, you have to follow where the devices are headed, or the OS, which is now becoming more voice driven. So voiceify what you're doing. You don't have to change the rest of it, but share it in this other way. And the blue ocean is totally cool, because from a search perspective, like there's not much competition there yet.
Okay. What are your thoughts on TikTok as a platform for financial advisors?
Super powerful. Don't do it unless you have a lot of time, because I was talking with Brittany Castro about this, and she's been very successful on TikTok, as you know. And she said, look, it was easier a year or two ago, and now you really have to post, you're going to not believe this number, 7 times a day to get the algorithm to kind of surface your content more, because it's getting so competitive. You have to commit to doing it. It's not for everybody, and you have to be quick. Like, you have to speak quickly and practice and get it. Do you know how long people spend making those TikTok videos? You'd be shocked. It's hours a day getting it just right. And like, the thing with the camera, like it's a lot of work. It would be easier to tweet.
Oh yeah, it's definitely much easier to tweet. I tell you, Emily, some of this data that we're seeing, LinkedIn seems to be struggling with getting reach. Even if you have engagement, it's not reaching as many people as it used to be. It's becoming less of a social platform. That's just the data that we're finding. What disturbs me the most is most of the attention is now going to TikTok. And it's not just millennials. It's not just Gen Z. It is Gen X and it is boomers. And anecdotally, when I went to our clients at the beginning of the year for the media company, and these are asset managers that manage a lot of money, that it was hard to get them on LinkedIn 10 years ago. And I suggest, hey, we need to start making vertical videos with your content. It needs to go on Instagram Reels. We need to put it on YouTube Shorts. And you probably need to start a TikTok account. 80% of them said that they had already been on. 60% of them were consuming it. And Emily, I think the reason is they're on there to watch their kids. And then they get sucked into that algorithm that's apparently really good. And so I think if you're a financial advisor and you have the temperament for it, the ability to post 7 times a day or whatever it takes, it's a blue ocean, because there's a lot of really bad financial advice out there. And if you can deliver good advice, much like on these Amazon devices, you can go and grab some market share.
Definitely. Like, that's the best algorithm on the planet when it comes to servicing social content. It's phenomenal. And not to get too in the weeds on this, but it's interesting because it came out of China, and Chinese people don't let their kids use it. What are they trying to control there? It's so good. It's so addictive. You can learn a lot. And Tyrone was talking about the COVID visors, and that it's ripe with COVID visors. Everything on social media is. If you're actually an expert with a degree and a great resume of like, I've actually worked in the space and I know what I'm talking about, you would stand out, because these are people who are just making videos. I'm like, I just bought this stock and here's why it's great. It's like, that's not what you should be telling anybody to do.
No. In fact, so I'm licensed. If I say stuff like that, right, I get dinged. I get written up. I've got to go report that to the CFP board. Somebody else gets on there and they start talking about investing in 8 JPEGs or buying AMC, and there's no consequences for the person who posted it, but the people who are taking that advice end up in a lot of trouble. So a little bit of a tangent there, Emily. Let's bring it back to your service and wrap up with this. Where can advisors learn more about your service, and what would that experience be like?
You can go to wealthvoice.ai, and we have videos and information there, but you can request a demo if you just want to jump on a call and kind of see how it all works. Also, Instagram, our Instagram page has really good demos on there. It's Wealth Voice AI. So Yeah, we have a blog, we have stats and everything on there. It's pretty compelling when you look at the numbers. I mean, that's why I did this. It's not just my hope that it's going to go somewhere. It's going. That's the data says. There was just a report that came out. It was Edison's share of ear report, and 8 in 10 smart speaker owners think the devices make it easy to discover new content overall. I was excited to see that because yes, it's still growing, but not nearly as fast as it was from a device adoption standpoint a few years ago, just because more people have them. Like you have a threshold of how much you can grow that fast over the years. But the content hub of the home, right? So are you there? That's the key.
Excellent. To learn more about WealthVoice, please visit wealthvoice.ai. That is wealthvoice.ai. Emily, thanks for coming on.
You're welcome.